What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the shop. For a couple of years now, I've had this Harley-Davidson, and I love it. It rides great. It's got a nice, hefty weight to it, so when you get up on the highway or you're riding in crosswinds and stuff, you don't feel it as much as you would on a lighter, more upright bike like my XR 650L and stuff like that. So this is a great highway cruiser. But there is a problem with it, and because of that problem, I haven't ridden this bike nearly as much as I thought I was going to ride it. And what that problem is these slash cut neighbor hater pipes that are on here. They're so freaking loud, and it's not, it's not the right kind of loud. They like crack and pop, and they're real high in the frequency, and it hurts my ears badly. And I have to wear earplugs when I ride this thing, and to me, that's annoying as hell. I don't want to have to go find a clean pair of earplugs every single time I want to fire up my bike, and it's just annoying. And I know it annoys other people that are riding next to me and stuff like that. And it's, quite frankly, it's so loud, it's obnoxious. I could understand wanting to have straight drag pipes on a drag bike or something, but we're talking about a street cruiser here that I'm wanting to ride this long distance on the highway. And that droning sound of these pipes is just awful. It's unacceptable. So that started me on a mission. A while back, I started looking on Craigslist and Facebook's marketplace and all this stuff for a good used set, of pipes. So, because I didn't want to spend $600 freaking dollars on a couple of pieces of bent steel tube. It's just ridiculous. But, in Biden's America, everything is like 3 times more money than it's supposed to be. So that basically forced me to look into the used market. Well, a little while back, I found a set of Vance and Hines Big Shots, I think they're called. They're not the short ones. I wanted some length on them. And another thing I don't like about these pipes is because, even though they look cool, they look really cool slashed down like that, but see how they point right toward the shop floor? The problem with that is, if there's any dust or dirt or anything like that, or if you have to go down a gravel driveway like I do and it's dry season, then all of that dust is going to get kicked up all over your clean motorcycle. So it's really hard to keep it clean. It bounces the sound off the concrete in a way that I don't like. So we're going to get rid of these slash pipes here. But before I do, let's fire it up so you guys can just hear how loud this thing is. It's ridiculously loud. It's so loud that I feel guilty when I fire it up at nighttime or anything like that, or when I'm coming home late, because I live in a quiet neighborhood. I don't want my neighbors having to suffer through this. So I got those Vance and Hines, and we'll show you more about those here in a minute, but give it a couple of twists here. This is a carbureted bike, not a fuel injected, and I specifically wanted the last of the carbureted bikes. This is one of the last years, 2003, where they still had, you could get either or on this year. You could get a fuel injected or a carbureted, but I prefer a carburetor because I'm a DIY guy. I like to do my own stuff. So let's fire this puppy up. Run. Now again, some people might think that this sounds great, but to me, it's just too damn loud. Okay, we're a good ways away from the bike, and it's showing 86. Anyway, it's way too loud. I don't want to get it too hot because I'm getting ready to pull those pipes off of there. You know, 87, almost 90 decibels might not sound like a lot to you. And of course, I was trying to hold the camera, so I couldn't get it really in the loudest part that there is. But I'm telling you guys, when you're riding this thing, that droning sound that this thing makes is just awful. I mean, it makes it to where you get fatigued far earlier than you normally would have. For me, back when I had my 650 Intruder Suzuki, I could ride that thing. It was an 800cc. I could ride that thing, you know, 4 or 5 hours before I started finally getting fatigued enough to where I needed to stop and take a break and stuff like that. Now I'd have to stop and get gas in between because it didn't have a very big range, you know, so I guess you could count those gas stops as rest stops as well. But anyway, my point is I want to make this thing comfortable enough to where if I want to jump on this motorcycle and ride across the country, I can do that. The way it's configured right now, I cannot do that. So let me pull these pipes out and I'll show you what we ended up getting. We ended up getting a set of Vance and Hines, and you can see the way that they work. They're kind of like shotgun style or whatever. So instead of coming down and slashing like that, it's obviously going to follow the lines of the bike. And my hope is that it puts the sound back past the passenger so that if my wife is riding behind me or something like that, that she's not going deaf. And okay, so here's the story on these. I finally found some pipes that were acceptable and that would fit my bike. These came off a night train, I believe, and the guy did not have the chrome heat shields on there. He had them wrapped with header tape, and I didn't like that. I read some stuff about header tape, and they were saying that if you ever get your bike wet, like at the car wash, or if you ride your motorcycle in inclement weather, that tape can get wet and holds moisture up against that metal, and that metal rusts out a lot faster. So I didn't want that, so I pulled all that header tape off, and we're going to go ahead and install these. Now, I thought about this hard and long last night. Am I going to go ahead and do a how-to DIY, how to put this on? No, I'm not. Because this motorcycle is a 2003, I looked it up myself on YouTube. I couldn't find anyone doing specific videos on this bike, but basically all twin cam 88s, which is what this is, and the twin cam 103, I think is the bigger engine. Any of those engines are going to be pretty much similar to this. But I'm not going to do a how-to or any of that stuff. I'm just going to turn the camera off, and when we come back, all right, we finally got it. It took me a little while, a little bit of struggling, and I thought I'd tell you about it while I'm wiping this down. This was the first time I'd ever put pipes on a Harley like this before, so I didn't really want to do a tutorial video. That didn't make sense to me since I'm not an expert on it. I didn't want you guys to watch me struggle getting these things on there, and it was a little bit of a struggle, not too bad. One thing I wanted to point out though was I was watching several videos before I did this of kind of what I might run into, and I ran into two little minor issues that you may want to be aware of if you're going to do this job. One issue was that when I pulled the old exhaust out, my front stud, one of the front studs backed out. Instead of the actual nut coming off, the actual whole stud came out. And while that may not have been that big of a deal by itself, I could have just screwed the stud back in. The problem was the nut was actually stuck on the end of the stud. So I couldn't get it off of there. And I went ahead and took the stud over to my other shop where I have a vise and a whole bunch of taps and dies and different things like that. And just in case you guys are curious, that stud was 5/16 18, I believe. 5/16 18. It was the more coarse thread, let's put it that way. And the way that stud works, the part that screws into the head is the 5/16 part. The other part that comes out, it's still 5/16, but it's 5/16 24. So it switches over from coarse thread inside the head to fine thread on the outside of the head. And that's what I was running into problems with. The nut would back out to a certain point and then just stop. And so I had to basically take a pair of vice grips. I didn't like doing it, but I put the vice grips in a place where I knew it would be in between the bolt surfaces where the threads need to be. and I was real cautious about it when I did it, and I was able to back that nut off of there. Once I did, I took my 5/16 24 tap, or die rather, and I ran it down and chased those threads and cleaned them up. And I also cleaned up the other side, which again, I believe was 5/16 18, although it might have been 5/16 16. But it's the coarser thread on the 5/16. And then while I had it out, I went ahead and took that nut and cleaned it up and chased the threads out on that with a 5/16 24 tap. So that was problem one. Something that I thought was going to be a problem that actually didn't turn out to be a problem was a lot of people were saying online that you needed a special tool to install the new gasket that goes inside of there. Those tapered gaskets that are that go inside of there, I already threw the old ones away and they were garbage. So I wasn't sure if I was going to actually have to change out those gaskets or not, but I'm glad I went ahead and ordered them because the ones that were in there were garbage. But what I wanted to tell you was I saw several videos where guys are like, oh, here's a special tool that you need to make to install these gaskets. You know what the special tool I used was? My 2 fingers. It was easy. It went right in. I was expecting it to be a real pain in the ass based on all these people saying that, oh, you gotta use a special tool to put this new, and I'm like, man, BS. You know, and that's one thing I don't like about YouTube is there are a lot of people that they make mountains out of molehills. You know, they make problems where there really aren't problems. So I have not fired this up yet. As you can see, the exhaust is cool to the touch. Right now, I'm just getting my fingerprints off of it and making it look good. I did have one other little minor struggle when I was going to get the way this thing bolts up. It bolts up down here at the bottom. There's a bracket that goes down, and that bracket did not want to line up. And I had to take them loose on the backside and manipulate it around, and finally I got it. But all in all, it probably took me about 2.5 hours to do this job, so not that big of a deal. And honestly, I think it looks great. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Did you like the old pipes better as far as the looks and appearance of it? I think these look great. So now it's time for the moment of truth. Let's see how loud it is after this. Now, these are Big Shots, Vance and Hines Big Shots. And I did buy some baffles on Amazon that are not Vance and Hines, but they fit inside of here exactly like the Vance and Hines baffles. So I wanted to also tell you this before I start the bike up. I paid $100 for the pipes. I had to order about $20 or $30 worth of stuff off of Amazon, like the gaskets and something else. I ordered 2 or 3 things off of Amazon. I can't remember what all it was. Oh, the baffles, the gaskets and the baffles off of Amazon. The baffles were like $24. The gaskets were like $10 or something like that. Honestly, if I had it to do over again, I think I'd go ahead and order a brand new stainless steel stud kit. And I'd go ahead and change those studs out to stainless steel rather than just plain metal, whatever they are. Because they did have a little corrosion and rust on them. And, you know, obviously, it's a Harley-Davidson. I don't want any rust on it anywhere. So, anyway, all in all, with the baffles, I had to go over to the hardware store yesterday and buy some miscellaneous, because these were used pipes, I had to buy some more hose clamps that hold the chrome heat shields on. Oh, and that's one thing I almost forgot to tell you guys. One of the reasons I wanted to change those old pipes out is, let me show you this right here. Before, when I sat on the bike, my pant leg right here, hopefully you guys can see that. Almost every pair of pants I have has this burn on it now because of those stupid pipes that I had on there that had no heat shields on them. These have heat shields on them, so if you sit at a stoplight or something and your leg touches it for half a second, it's not going to melt through your pants or whatever or burn your leg. And I think that's pretty important. So anyway, I wanted to tell you guys that I'm really excited about this. I think it looks great. I like chrome, so I mean, just fantastic. I think it just makes the bike look that much classier than it did before. Now let's hear, does it sound better? Time for the moment of truth, the moment I've all been waiting for. Did we quieten this bike down enough? Give it a little choke. Oh yeah. Way better. Way better. See if she'll idle. The bike's cold, it may die. All right, so we're gonna grab our little meter here and see what we see. Okay, it's saying, showing about 83, 84, 85 right here. And I know that might not seem like a whole lot of difference, but to my ear, it sounds a whole lot quieter than that. Before it had this loud popping sound, and I just couldn't get over, I could never really get used to that. Got a little smoke coming off the front. Hopefully that's just from everything settling in. Oh, that's right. These pipes are brand new, and I put brand new paint on them, so these are going to smoke a little bit while they get hot. But yeah, we're showing 84 to 85 decibels. Let me go out behind it here. So right here, we're still about the same, 85, 86. Yeah, we're cooking those pipes in good now. Oh man, this bike is going to be so much better to ride. Smoking. Anyway, guys, that's the end of this video. I'm glad you stopped by. I'm going to get out here before dark and go up and down the road a few times, see how it sounds. Yeehaw! Oh man, that sounds good. Oh yeah. That is so much better. So much better. I'm gonna have to ride it a few times, cook that paint off of there, but otherwise, I'm a happy camper. Anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in. Until then, we'll see you next time.